Kellie.
Hey, Ronnie.
I don't know why, but it's always my new intro with you is just to call your name. Like nothing to like, hey, we're gonna start the show today. No, Kellie. That's all I want to
No,
do
I love it.
from now on. Just don't forget to say my name too.
That's how I want everybody to start calling me.
Yeah. I want it on a t-shirt, by the way. Oh, by the way, before we start our episode, or as we're starting, I did get in contact with Viridian Row, which of course this podcast, Difficult Podcasters, is brought to you by, and I have another t-shirt coming. I think it was 2 episodes ago or last episode. I was wearing the Billy Eichner Viridian Row shirt,
which I love.
And I look good in it, damn good. You know, it was black t-shirt with pink writing. And then I have another one coming. So, but I won't tell you what it is until I get to wear it. But it's just I'll say this. We talked about Housewives last episode, and it's Housewives inspired. So
it's funny too. I didn't want to take away shine from your shirt last week, but the one I was wearing with the Impala car on it is also a Viridian Row shirt. They have a whole collection of classic cars, which is super cool. And I grew up in Texas with a bunch of lowriders and like all that. So I love those particular shirts, which is really fun.
Well, here it is. Difficult people. The show is called Difficult Podcasters, where we recap Difficult People, the Hulu series that had 3 seasons, but I feel like it was so much bigger than that. You know, the following to this day is so big. So it's kind of an exciting moment, even though we're just kind of picking up on our episode 9. This also marks this marks our season 2 recap style, right? Yeah.
Yes, we are in season 2 full effect, which I'm excited about.
Yeah.
But it's also halfway over, which is sad at the same time.
Yeah, yes, but there'll be other shows to recap, and I was going to tell you, and I've been telling you actually, but I feel like you really need to start listening to me. I feel like I lead my sentences to a lot of people talking that way.
Just listen to me.
Just listen to what Ronnie says. I really feel like you got to get into the other 2, which stars.
I saw you tweet about that yesterday, and it reminded me that I need to figure out what this show is. Yes, yeah, you're right.
In simplest form, I feel like that it has this vibe where I feel like Billy and Julie were walking across the street, but on the other street were the other characters from the other 2. It's like the same world, but it's like 2 different shows, but it feels very similar, you know. I have not found a brand of not sitcom, but humor that has matched like this show. So, you know, things to look forward to. Maybe we'll recap that. We never know what's next. But tell me how you've been. What's new? Are you as pissed off as I am that, you know what, not to dwell on the timing of it all, but summer has been way too hot for me, and it's not making me happy, and I don't know how to get through with it.
I'm in Texas, so Texas summers are no joke anyway, and it's even worse this year, which is pretty funny. So a lot of people are moving. I'm in Austin, well, the suburbs of Austin. So a lot of people are moving to Austin from LA, which I found that a lot of old friends of mine are in town, or colleagues I've worked with, or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're, you know, I've met them for lunch and drinks and different things. And they're telling me, yeah, everybody keeps saying like, just wait with the heat. Like, what does that mean? It's scaring me. And I'm like, it's not the hottest it gets yet. Like in the Valley in LA, you know, when I lived in the San Fernando Valley, like in North Hollywood, Toluca Lake area, whatever, it would get hot and it would get in the hundreds, but it doesn't feel like you're on fire the way it feels like you're on fire when I step outside right now. I mean, look at this sun. Like, it's no joke.
Usually I do.
It's like 11 in the morning over here.
Yeah, I usually do okay with it. And I would like to like say, oh, you know, you put on some extra pounds, maybe it's that. But I've been big before and have never had this much trouble with the heat. I think that it might not, obviously, if you're, you know, 40 pounds smaller, it would make it a little easier, but I don't think it's just like the body weight. I think it's coming off a 2020 pandemic into, I think everyone has had their like life shifted in many different ways, from moving to work could be good or bad or whatever, that I was not okay with the hot summer. And it was just every day.
Hot.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter. It's just hot. It doesn't matter how many clothes you have, how many you know, how big you are. It's just effing hot and I'm over it. And it's almost the end of August. I hope that it starts to cool down a little bit, but I don't know, we'll see.
And I won't dwell on it. I just wanted to make an observation. I'm like, usually I have no problem with the heat no matter what. Like, I'm always with it. I think the heat is actually a little sexy if you ask me, but I felt like I just didn't, it made me grumpy. And I think, and I must admit, it may have knocked our little productivity of our little show, because I was like coming up with excuses to Kellie, talking about we can't record because this and that, and really I was just hot and pissed and grumpy. But
no, I know, but there's also so much going on too. It's been such a crazy summer, I think, for both of us. So there's always difficult situations to kind of like have to get through, the way these guys are always misunderstood and dealing with the worst situations in the best way, which kind of makes me feel a little bit better about my struggle.
You're right. We got Papa Billy and Mama Julie to kind of lead the way. I will say that I think this is season 2, episode 1. Very excited to start this season of the set of recaps for Difficult People, which aired on Hulu. We love. I was gonna say, did you have anything from our season 1, Kellie, that you want to improve on, or that you are really proud of, or that you want to eliminate? Because I have something I want to stop doing in this next round. I probably won't, but I want to stop.
I just want to do more of them.
Okay, we'll do more of them. Yeah, no more excuses. But okay, so this is what I do wrong. I am so grumpy looking all the time.
You know, I want to stop my filler words that I always say. That's always been my goal. It's all those ifs, like all those that you guys hear me do repeatedly. I really want to stop that. I don't know if it's possible, but we'll see.
You know where I think that comes from? Your early radio days. There was these things in radio we did called the air checks, and there was always a programmer to tell you, you know, a young Ronnie or a young Kellie, oh, that's a crutch, or don't rely on this, or you're being too this, too that. Because to be honest, Kellie, you haven't messed up at all. And I think that might be in, well, we could always do better, but I think in your mind, it's kind of like, oh, am I using this as a crutch? But I think you're doing great. Let's take it away with season. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I think you are too. I think the grumpiness and the passion and all of that, it adds to our fun little podcast.
I agree. I agree. But I was just looking, and I was like, and rewatching our shows and listening to our shows. And I was like, oh my God, you are just like always so like, well, what people don't understand is blankety blank. And then I'm like, Ronnie, take a look at yourself. Look in the mirror. Like, shit don't stack that high. Like, what? Something is wrong with you to be making all this judgment. So this time I feel like I'm going to look through the vehicle of Billy and Julie, and we'll go through them. But you never know. By episode 4, I'll probably be back to,
I mean, we'll see. Maybe the tables will have turned.
Yeah, okay. Oh, so I won't be the bitter bitch.
And
we'll
then
turn it over to you.
The super positive one. I'm going to be like, no, wait a minute. I can't deal with it.
Well, that works good because I'm in a good mood. So take it away. Season 2, episode 1, Difficult People, our favorite show, Difficult Podcasters. Let's get it going.
Yeah, so this episode opens up with Billy and Julie at the gym, which, you know, we hardly see. And Billy's explaining his whole gym dilemma. Now, Ronnie, have you ever come across this issue where, you know, you go to the gym, you're working out, and you meet new friends, and then you can't go to your gym anymore when you don't want to see those new friends anymore?
Well, I will say in the early young, no, not that much, but I will say specifically growing up in the Southern California area, being so close to said West Hollywood area, I remember going to a specific 24-hour fitness. I think that was what it was called, 24-hour fitness. And I do know, and I remember this specifically because I was a young, unadventured, unevolved human at the time, let's say 22, 23, and things hadn't like fully clicked, but curiosity caught the cat, I will tell you. And I would go to said 24-hour fitness, and once you do the workout and everyone looked, you know, beautiful right there on Santa Monica, whatever, but then you do your workout. And at that time, 24-hour, they had this thing where you can do gym memberships anywhere. So I didn't live near that area, but I drove specific to the area to do the workout. But then after the workout, I will tell you, you would end up in the sauna, and I could just recall some fingers going in some spaces that I remember so specifically. Like I could remember being like, wow. Yes, at such an age. And my fingers also did some talking as well. And it was this whole gym. And I say this because anyone who went to the 24-hour right there on that street knows this specifically, because they remodeled the place. So I'm not saying it didn't happen after, but after the sauna had been remodeled, I don't know that the festivities were happening. So yeah, no, I've never had what Billy had, but I definitely had fingers, I not mouths, but definitely fingers in the 22-year-old stage of life.
Wow.
Were you expecting that story?
So funny because I like couldn't even imagine having any sort of like hit on or come up like situation at the gym. Like I would always go at like 5 a.m, 6 a.m, all sweaty and gross. And I'm not trying to talk to anybody. I'm not trying. So that's so funny.
I mean, this may have been a very specific, like you walk into the gym.
I know that. I remember that location. Yes, I remember where that location. And like none of the machines ever worked. So I'm like, why is that place always packed?
Well, most of the people were out there, Kelly. Most of them went that way. And that's the closest I can recall off the top of my head relating to Billy and his gym moment with his oldie friend. The old timies, that was fun. That was fun how that whole thing developed. I really like that.
Oh, that was. And the thing that's so makes me feel bad for Julie, but I guess she does it too, so it's kind of what she gets. But anytime she runs into someone, is this just like how people talk to each other? And maybe I just didn't realize that that's what's always happening. And now that I'm looking at it from a different point of view, I see it. But every time Julie runs into somebody, they're always like talking down at her when they're explaining that something good happened to them. It's like, why do you have to, you know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, are you still doing that recap stuff? Because I'm not anymore. And I can't tell you how great I feel about it. Like, do you always have to step down to step up? Like, I don't know.
That's weird that you say that, because I feel like in life, I've asked that question to a degree. I feel like it's always this idea. Yes, Julie is, in this series, she's bitter. As I said, I'm the bitter bitch myself. And then there's this weird thing where sometimes even when you're trying to cross over and be more pleasant, it's like, you're right, that she gets put in these predicaments that she does not call for at all. But she gets put in these predicaments that somebody's able to talk a certain way. And it's like, unless she decides to kind of eliminate her opinion and just kind of be standoffish, what else would you do but to like have an attitude because somebody talked that way to you? So Julie really wasn't in the wrong. And yes, why was the girl trying to rub it in? The only thing that I could take from your question is that sometimes, and we probably have all been guilty of this, but don't even realize, like, have you ever been so proud of a success that you're just so into it, you don't really know that you have been off-putting to somebody who maybe has not gotten that same advancement,
And maybe I probably have, and especially in, the younger days when you don't really realize some of the crazy crap that comes out of your mouth as you're saying it. And I'm definitely a person that talks before I think, and that's never serves me well, but I just can't help it. So I probably have, and I apologize to anybody that I've ever made feel that way, because I don't think I meant to do that. I hope I didn't mean to do that.
Well, I also think it's like, let's say you're talking positively. If I'm the person who has got a string of bad luck, I might just hang on your every word. Because again, the lady did say, oh, I just loved your OC recap. That was just such witty fun. And she wasn't trying to be mean, but I guess to a degree, if you have not been able to win and you're doing the same thing, you have all the experience and no doors are opening up, you're just like, listen, old friend, you got an advancement and I didn't. I don't want to hear what you think of my witty recap, So,
but I also feel like it was a little bit condescending because that's the last thing she said. Like, she asks her, like, how's it, like, say, she says hello. They're having that, little catch up. Mm-hmm. Why isn't that one of the first things she says versus the last thing? It's like it's an afterthought, and it comes like, to me, I feel like it's a little condescending. You want to brag to me and then be like, oh, by the way, your little recap is so cute. Like, maybe I'm just thinking too deep about it, but why not compliment first and then say, I totally, know how it's such a struggle. We've been doing these together, but I just finally got a big brain.
I think what she should have said.
A little bit of,
no, you're right.
Look what I
got. What she should have said, and I will say for you and I, whenever we've been we worked together in radio for 3 years or 2 years, but anytime someone were to get an advancement, I think the rule of thumb we would always try to say, whether you were the one getting it or somebody else was getting it, I don't mean you, Kelly, but whether it was you, the person, right, or somebody, there would always be this thing. And I remember they would say this all the time. They would say, oh, and when I get in with the program director, I'm going to send your tape. Like that was what you always said. So I think that's what made Julie so mad. And what made her discover that the group that the girl was in was the Refuts group. I think it was just based on the fact that the girl didn't offer like, oh, maybe this is something you want to, be a part of. So Julie felt angry in that way. So she had to go to her Charleston Chew, which I mean, if we're going to be moaning as they were both moaning together.
I mean, how dare they throw away her Sunday? I mean, what the?
I know she was so mad. She even comes into the gym like she walks with such an attitude. It's terrible, but
everywhere she goes.
Yeah, I love the episode because it did give us Sandra Bernhardt, which I thought is great. So that kind of leads to that, and just a lot of different stuff in this episode. Very fun. Yeah, I really liked it.
Yeah, and it kind of goes into your vices a bit, right? So Billy and Julie are talking to each other about, okay, I can't continue to do the same stuff I'm always doing, but that's exactly what they do at the beginning. Mm-hmm. They fall into old patterns. And it's hard. Like, how do you break these bad habits that you have? It's, there's still so many that I have that I've never been able to kind of let go of. And at this point, it's just like, oh, well, I don't know. But
you are who you are. Yeah. Well, Billy's was that he was not going to hook up with somebody at the gym and run the risk of making it an awkward hookup and never going back to that gym. And then Julie's was she was not going to eat junk food. And, Julie's for sure as what?
As a crutch.
Yeah, we knew Julie would not survive.
That's the first thing both of them do. But yes, Billy's little conquest is hilarious because, the guy asked him to hang out and I thought he was going to like ditch him at the door, but he actually waits and is like, sees him come out in his, when he's fully dressed and is like, oh,
yeah,
totally different than you're totally different with your clothes on.
Yeah.
And then it turns out that he's a old timey.
Yeah.
So
I mean, obviously a great cameo. I just followed the storyline and I liked it because I think what we like about Billy is anytime he tries something. So he tried with not the best intention because he saw another guy that he had maybe hooked up with at another gym. And so it wasn't the best intention, but it led to like, oh God, I don't know. I don't really want to do this, but I should. Okay, fine. Let's go out tomorrow night.
He gave it a try.
Yeah.
So
it excites me because we're gonna have a Pretty Woman moment, which is exciting. But we'll get to that.
Pretty Woman montage was money. I loved every second of that. Hilarious. So we find out that Cecil is heir to a jelly bean fortune, and jelly beans are $1 billion industry. So he's got the whole butler staff, huge, Park Avenue place and all that good stuff. So he's spoiling Billy. So Billy decides he's not breaking up with him just yet.
Yeah, you gotta. Well, how do you feel about meeting a man who has a lot to the table and darn well that you're not really into him, but you are going to be more into the person than you would have before because this could be a fun ride. Have you had situations like that, Kel?
I actually have, and I couldn't do it.
Oh, your mind took you out of it?
Yeah.
Oh. See, I feel like I would think with the other head, not the head on the top of my.
No, I just, I probably could have had a lot more adventures had I just kind of gone with it. But no, it just didn't feel right, and I just didn't. I don't know.
I've never been proposed with that situation, but I feel like when I was really young, I would be very like, and this is for anything, like I would be like, I literally said this like a punk 18-year-old. I never want to win the lottery. I feel like working hard towards my dream is really how I want to aspire in life. This is what I used to say because I knew that the hard work was going to equate to success. Buzzer, wrong answer. Doesn't happen all the time.
Right.
And so I think in my mind, I would be, and I feel like to a degree, You know, there have been times where you're out with you know, someone, and you know, I will say maybe he has more fat pockets than I would have at the time. So yeah, I would have enjoyed like the dinner and a couple of perks or whatever. And but you know, I never been really set up in that situation. But I will say, at my ripe old age, I'm like, if not anyone, but if the right situation, I'd maybe open up my mind a smidge. That's all I'm saying. Yeah.
yeah, I know. I had
I'd,
a lot of
yeah.
friends that were like, you know, screw it, let's see where this goes. And I don't know. I've just always kind of relied a lot on if there's not something, I don't ever want to be misleading. So, and I don't want to kind of do things for the wrong reason. I mean, one of, you know, the only things I always carried through with is I just could never really do that.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I've had situations where it was like, oh, I'll pay your rent, I'll do all this stuff for you. And I'm like, no, because I don't want to have to owe somebody something like that. Like, that's kind of the way I always looked at it. It's like,
yeah. So do you have any discouragement that Billy kind of went through with it for a little bit?
No, because he also didn't give him a chance. So that's a little different. Like, you know, I went on a couple of dates and kind of like wanted to see, you know, if they're, you know, you can't, sometimes you can, honestly, I really think you can tell kind of like on the first time you're around somebody, but you should kind of give everybody a chance to kind of really see who they are. And I've tried to do that. And I think he didn't. So I don't really fault him for kind of going on this little Pretty Woman montage ride, because he was always so quick to cut everything off. So this kind of gave him a chance to really kind of see this guy for who he was, aside from all the, you know, the lavish stuff. And he, you know, ultimately came to the decision that that wasn't for him.
Okay, so you're saying that it made him a better dater.
I think so.
Oh, I like that.
It made him come out of his comfort zone a bit, and he did something he doesn't usually do. He gave somebody a chance, albeit while letting them spoil him, but that was Cecil's choice. So, you know,
and if
let
it's
people choose their choice.
If it's recession proof, the jelly beans, it's $1 billion industry. I mean, is it really taking? I mean, if the guy has the extra funds to make you feel special, I mean,
why not?
All right, we learned a lot about dating right there. And Julie also is learning a lot. I mean, her mom lost a friend, and even just the comedic energy of the way Marilyn talks to really just everyone, but Julie about, you know, oh God, my loss. I know we were about to win on the tennis court. Like Marilyn's
she's more upset about the tennis match loss than actually losing her friend, which is so Marilyn. It's perfect.
She Marilyn gives us throughout the course of the 3 seasons, she gives us so many things that we're discouraged by, but yet still love so much. Specifically, she wasn't good with her sister, and I can't wait for that episode because that was one of the funniest episodes, but that's many episodes away from now. It's set up this moment though for Julie to kind of connect with her mom, and you know, and kind of taking her on another journey and kind of discovering how Julie's going to maneuver with some of her goals in this episode.
But she also figures out too that she needs a will, because her friend didn't have a will, and all of her stuff kind of got donated to
something that Marilyn did not
charity, according to Marilyn. Yes. But she's afraid that might happen to her, so she needs to get a will together. But she doesn't want to get a lawyer though. She's just going to do a video will.
Yeah, with the whatever it was, Panasonic 5000 or something.
Can I just say too, for this being a Hulu show, they talked about Netflix so much in this episode, which I think is funny.
I think they've made fun of like Amazon Prime before as well. Like I remember they made
but
fun
it was like, but it was like maybe I just noticed it more in this episode, but it was like Netflix.
Yeah. Right. They definitely did.
So that camera was awesome.
Yes.
She got like a high-tech level, let's make a movie camera.
Yeah. And she gets greeted by you know, the actress and producer, you know, the human name of Tina Fey, which for the life of her, she's like, what do you want, dear? Like, get like stop with the name. Just who are you and what do you need?
I don't know who you are. Yeah. I don't know any. I don't understand anything that you're saying. Who wants to cry on my stoop? No.
She's like, no, I said Tina, the actual human name, not whatever you're
a director.
Yeah.
Yes.
I wonder though.
No. Just say yes would suffice.
Yeah. Please stop talking. I wonder. It made me think about like, is how do you really recite? You've been around a lot of entertainers and celebrities and stuff, but we all have. How do you actually say hello to people? We never wonder that because we're not, when you're not a celebrity, you don't even really think of that. But do you actually take a pause to let them know that they know you, or are you just to say, hi, I'm such and such, and just keep it moving? Like, how does that work, I wonder?
Well, in my experience with people, as I've watched them kind of do it, I've seen it go both ways. And I've been around people that were popular in certain circles I just didn't know. And that was super uncomfortable for me.
Meaning,
like,
okay.
Like they, they're used to being well known and recognized, and I didn't. And like get asked, oh, do you watch this show? And I'm like, no.
Oh, and you're saying they gave an expectation? They gave like an expectation that you were supposed to know them?
Yeah.
Right.
And I think it should be just because they're used to it. So it's like, oh, you don't like, and maybe sometimes they think that I'm, or someone's like being funny that they don't really know who they are. And it's like, no, I really don't. Sorry.
That's actually true, because like I think about it, maybe not from like actors and actresses and people of that stature, but like, so I'll watch a bunch of reality TV, but I'll tell you, I have never watched any of the 90 Day Fiancés or whatnot. And those people, by all statistics, those are like very, very popular people. But had I been in a room with one of them, I would never even know. It might be a little bit different if you're working a red carpet event, because you could tell who's like, being set up to walk the carpet. But just in general, no. The one time I remember working as a doorman concierge at a building, and I'm looking down or whatnot, and somebody's coming up to the counter, and I mean, I saw her walk up, but she when she said hello to me and shook my hand, she's like, whatever she said, whatever note she had to pass on to me. But right after that, she goes, oh, thank you, I'm Juliana. And then that was Juliana Margulies. So like in that regard, she didn't stop down to like expect that you would know, but that's like such a big name. And just as a real, human person, she just said, I'm Juliana, which I thought was sweet.
Jennifer Lopez did that to me. She came, she was
Are you trying to make me jealous? She's one of my queens.
When I was working at Kiss FM, and it was at a Wango Tango. It was one of the Wango Tango, one of the last Wango Tangos I did, or Jingle Ball or something. I don't remember. But I was taking her to sound check, and she was super polite and was like, "Hi, I'm Jennifer," and like shook my hand.
One thing you're gonna notice is Kellie and I worked for the same company, but she worked for the better station. So she'll say all of these great stories, and my stories were like not so strong compared to you. But I thought I did pretty good there. But when I hear your stories,
yes, you did. And
the most I saw of Jennifer was at one of the concerts. But there was how many people next to her, and then we're like the chumps in the far corner.
Well, I always
here's Kellie's taking her to stage. Granted, I did help take Gwen Stefani and them to stage one time, but yeah.
There you go. And all I got to do was refill their bar. So they needed more liquor, and I had to go get that. So
of course they did. Oh my God, the memories.
I know.
Early radio days in LA.
No, but that is an interesting thing though, when because it's like when they have really good manners, and it's just something you don't think about. I think that says a lot about the person's character. And I think, some celebrities get a bad rap for being rude or being like whatever, but I've honestly, with the most famous people, I really haven't experienced that as I have with some of the reality show people or the less well-known that kind of have the bigger egos, which has always been interesting.
I think it's because those people weren't setting out to do this, and they may have got luck, or they may have been thirsty for fame, so it wasn't the right intention. I think when you start as a kid or a teenager and you get into theater or whatever, or you're vocally, gifted, and you want to be a singer, I think you have a longer version of what fame would look like. And so with that, you have a bigger appreciation. And I think that's what it turns into. But yeah, I'd be kind of awkward if I met like a 90 Day Fiancé cast member who's like got the hugest of numbers, but I'm like, I literally have never seen you. What's your name? Tina Fey?
Which was so funny because she kept telling, James Spader, and she's like, who? Yeah. I'm directing The Blacklist, and it's amazing. What?
Yeah.
You're a director? I need help. Come help me with my will. I need you to direct my will. She's like, yeah, no.
Yeah. It just made Marilyn like very dismissive of anyone. It could have been anyone, really. Like it was just Marilyn being Marilyn. But I like the way they I like the way they bonded though. After a while, after they got through that hiccup, I like the way they bonded. I like the way Marilyn found a need with Tina. You know, she found a need where she needed her to direct, and I thought that was actually a really good moment. And there was that moment where
to a different level.
There was that moment where she expresses like, I'm really doing this for my daughter, which not the one, but a redeeming quality is that while Marilyn is she's a lot. She at least always does, after she says so many negative things on accident about her daughter and kind of judging her life, she does really want the best for her daughter. And I think we saw that creep in, Yeah.
Yeah, she definitely does, because she's never going to marry that alcoholic she lives with.
Yeah. He's fine for a functioning alcoholic, Julie, but you should probably get somebody who, maybe works at a for-profit network.
Poor Arthur.
I know he is the best. But yeah, Marilyn's love for Julie is pretty good because Marilyn has always seen all of what she's done, all of what she's quit. They've alluded to her quitting a lot of times. So I think Marilyn is just who she is, partially because she's who she is, but partially because Julie is misdirected sometimes. And what we see about Julie is she's always finding a task and she's latching onto it. This episode, of course, was no different. Even if it was,
she's got to get in this circle, right? She's got to get in with these power players, and she's got to use any means possible to get there. And her and Billy kind of have this fun little thing where it's like, can I really stoop that low to using, church to kind of get, ahead in life?
Yeah.
And we laugh about it because it's like, you do what you got to do, right? So whatever gets you to church.
Yeah, the manipulation, and it's not a good thing to really manipulate, like a religious situation, but she does it. I like her smooth conversation when she says, my mother lost a friend, and I will not be able to join anyone for dinner, and well, thank you. And like she lowers her voice and she's like, she just has
nice to meet you. Nice to see you.
Nice to meet. How are you? Yeah, she was just trying to draw them in, and it was just done so well. Julie Klausner is so funny when it comes to scenes like this. This is one of those scenes where I could just rewind and rewatch it over and over because
she was determined to get that invite, which she did.
Yeah, she got the invite. Which opens up.
They had to walk 20 minutes. A 20-minute walk.
She says, remind me why we have to walk again. Julie might be one of the more lazy New Yorkers in terms of walking. 20 blocks sounds like a great walk. But what I loved about it, though, I do love the concept, though, just in general, because Sandra Bernhardt's character did make mention that we turn I don't know the exact rules, obviously, but we turn our phones off, we turn this off, we sort of get reconnected. I think that's a really great practice in general, you know what I mean, across the board.
To reconnect one-on-one versus without all of this technology.
And I feel like the reason it didn't work for Julie is because she didn't actually embrace that moment. She didn't actually use the gift of what it was. She didn't take advantage of them being around, all that she could have learned. I think she saw her friend win because, again,
she's always looking for the easiest way out to half-ass do it. And that's always the problem.
You have mentioned.
And I think that's kind of the lesson that you get from this show. If you're trying, if you kind of look deeper in it, it's, when you're half-ass doing something, you're going to get a half-ass result. And I feel like that's what she always does, because she just has Arthur as her stand-in. She doesn't have the film physically in her hand, but Arthur's doing it for her. And it's like, if you're going to do something, then you need to do it all the way.
And it kind of really brings me back to the first scene with the Charleston shoe. She doesn't have discipline. That's what we're really getting out of it. Here she has this great opportunity to grow and learn, and then she's just telling Billy like, no, I've got Arthur, he'll take care of it. Like she's trying to find a loophole. I think she's been crushed so much by the industry that she wants to succeed in so bad that when she sees a friend get in with this group, she feels like she wants to take the quick path. But gosh darn, Julie, it's not even but like a certain amount of hours. You can do this, you really can do this. But she does all the wrong things. She wears the fabric that she feels is the right look for the dinner,
even though it's like she's allergic to it,
which does cause a problem later that we'll possibly speak about to a degree. But yeah, it's just all of these cutting in line. But I will say, to defend her, because I think that we should, I think and I don't want to make like excuses either, but I do have that, like, I'm not saying that I can recall times I've tried to cut cut the line, meaning she's not trying to cut the line because she's selfish. She's not trying to cut the line because she doesn't believe in hard work and doesn't believe in her talents. I think maybe I am relating it to myself. I think there's definitely times where you're just so tired of everyone else winning and you know you're fucking good and you cannot help but grab that shiny object. And in this case, Sandra Bernhardt's character represented that shiny object. And I want to just give one moment of like backing up Julie if I can. You know what I mean?
No, totally. It could be that you're just tired. You're tired of, always struggling and you are just ready for that break.
Yeah.
But so where's the balance in that? It's like you look at someone else and it may seem like they didn't have to work hard, but you also don't know what their struggle is. So.
Right. Well, that is why karma bit her in the ass. Dues they paid. Yeah, karma got her, and she deserved to not be successful with this, and it went very much right. Real quick.
Then at the same time, I feel like she's always in the wrong place at the wrong time at the wrong moment. It always like something's always misunderstood, which is half of her battle, which is not even always her fault.
Which also should really give her a bit of satisfaction that sometimes timing. I think what it is she can't get mad about it because yes, I was going to say half of the situation and making it is the networking, but it's also and the skill set, but it's also timing, so if you get hung up that you just haven't got the right timing and get mad about it and know that your other friend did, like, it's just not going to go good for you. Real quick, backtracking just one moment back to when she was first meeting them and she goes, they're talking about recaps and the girl goes, hey, Julie does recaps. And then someone says like, how is that or whatever? And Julie says, well, and it made me laugh because we recap, it made me laugh because she's like, how's recaps, Julie? How's it been going? Which again, a very diminishing comment, And
the way she said it's super condescending.
Yeah. So you might be right. I was giving the other girl a little benefit of the doubt at the beginning, but now I'm feeling what you were saying. Kellie always gets me in line. I love it. But I think I love the way Julie was trying to make them feel guilty, I think, to a degree. And she goes, how is the recapping? And she goes, Julie goes, well, you watch a show, you recap it, and 59 weeks later, you get 25 cents.
You get $6.
I don't know why I laughed, other than the fact that I feel like people, like when I get comments or whatever, people maybe who don't podcast whatsoever, and they only read stuff about the Alex, whatever her name is, and she gets a $60 million Spotify deal, and they think like everyone will do very well in podcasting. I like when Julie gave that commentary, I like was so like tight in my heart because I was like, oh my gosh, I feel that so much of just like, it is so raw and rugged and the journey is so rough that I'm like, yeah, I did this, I did that. And 59 weeks later, I get, but what, $6 and taxes come out. It's just so tough, man. Like, and so that to me was one of those comments where I had to rewind the first time I watched it. And of course,
it just kind of hits you right here.
Yeah. And again, credit to the, Julie Klausner for being able to like, run that scene so well. And it just made me like, yeah, that's what we go through. but by all means, don't feel sorry for me. Which, she got them to bite, which is, of course, what we're talking about with the weekend and the dinner and all that kind of stuff. Tough.
Yeah, so she got into this dinner. She, decides to host it at her place because her boyfriend is a great cook. And I love the question, like their first question, you have a boyfriend?
Yeah.
Like, how rude. I'm like,
yeah. It's one thing is with the group too, I feel like there was sort of like, even with Julie, she was trying to be exactly what they wanted. And maybe by some degree, they wanted her to be a certain thing as well. So there might have been a lot of expectations with them. And there might have been expectations with Julie to just give them what they needed. But I'm glad she tried it. I think with the right intentions, she could have been really, really good. I think the friend pouring the salt into the wound never helped. But it definitely made it complicated. Arthur is always there to support. By some degree, Arthur is there to support, but he's never there to call her on her shit. And I think that's really the problem. Even Arthur will be talking about an issue he has at work and she'll cut him off. It was something that, was going on with his job, PBS, in the programming. And she goes, "Oh, Arthur, is this thing where you give me like some story to make me feel sorry, some goofy story to make me feel less bad about my current situation?" And it's like, Julie, oh my God, like, why don't you ever listen to your
Or
boyfriend?
he's like, I thought I was talking about a valid, like a valid
a
situation, but
valid
whatever.
concern. Yeah, I guess his concern was that at the antiques, across the, wherever they have some paraphernalia that is not good, and that was something that does kind of come to play a little bit later by
Because
way of
he's supposed to develop a sexier version of Antique Roadshow. So she's like, that's disgusting because all these antique dealers have these secret rooms in the back that are no good that nobody wants to see.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
That are, super inappropriate or whatever. And he's just like, oh, really? So then he's kind of venting about his situation. And that's when she kind of cuts him off. And he's like, okay, I guess nothing real ever happens to me. So whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does kind of come around full circle, at the end, as each episode usually does, which is fantastic.
He's like the best boyfriend because he's supportive, but he's like the worst boyfriend because he doesn't like hold her accountable for anything, and that's how she gets in these situations. They maneuver along though. They have interesting interaction with the neighbor. The neighbor's password on the Wi-Fi, which they shared, was obviously not something worth speaking of. However, it's interesting because everything kind of culminates at the old timey's house where they're sitting there at dinner and they're learning that what are your ideas? And Julie's first thing is like, oh, she wants to give her ideas. Her ideas are so good. But Sandra Bernhardt's character does cut her real quick and is like, you guys aren't really like fully thinking. And it was kind of a lesson Julie should have learned, that she should have learned that once she started talking about her real life and showcasing that Billy, her real friend, has this fantastic and interesting story, that might be something of interest. So it was good because the group got interested, but then it became bad because the group said, well, we'll go see this situation, this old timey situation. I also liked in that moment that before when they were like, this is not real, and she's like, oh no, this old timey, he is real, and I could show you I have a bunch of dick pics, but I mean, maybe that's not what we're talking about right now.
She's like, yeah, that's not gonna prove anything.
Isn't that kind of funny though, that the moment she comes from the heart and just speaks about what's going on in her life, she could develop something amazing versus
and that's usually what happens. I think she tries too hard to be what she thinks somebody wants her to be, that's where a lot of it kind of falls through. She does have a lot of really great things that are happening around her that she doesn't pull from, which I think that she misses out. That's why that kind of unplugging didn't serve her well, because she really didn't. She didn't take time to stop, look around her life, and actually, take in and draw from real experiences. And I think, that's kind of, she does herself a disservice with that.
And I think the biggest disservice too is while she navigated into the group, which we would say is very manipulative, I think she does a huge disservice when it's all said and done, that she was not respectful of the Shabbat dinner. Like that to me really is, in general, more the hurtful part, when you put your needs so far ahead of what's kind of at stake, or what's ceremonious, for the moment. And that really was a bit disappointing with her. But for whatever reason, she does talk them all into going to the old timey's place. And at the old timey's place, there's of course all the old timeys, but that's also the moment that like Billy decides he's gonna break up with Cecil.
Yeah, that he's done with it. And he, and Cecil appears to take it pretty well. And he's just like, it's fine, stay, because the punch has heroin in it. So stay.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, so we're cool. And he's like, yeah. So it seems a little bit too good to be true. And then we find out that, Cecil has a little skeleton in his little inappropriate closet.
Yes, the group gets there and we just have this moment that like everything's sort of exploding at one moment, and you kind of see Julie's there, and she's obviously wearing attire that is not suitable for her. It's the right look, but it's definitely not what I get what she has an allergic reaction.
Well, yeah, her eyes are watering and they're all itchy. She can't keep her finger out of her eye. And so she accidentally gives a wink that she didn't mean to give, which I guess was a secret code for going into this hidden back room for
stuff, not good stuff. And that's the funniest thing is like they did mention that at the beginning of the episode, because that's what Arthur and her were talking about, that there are
she's
supposedly
like, I knew it. I
there's
knew
like
you
supposedly
old antiquers have this crazy crap in the back.
But to what you were talking about, like, you know, you were saying Julie sort of just ends up in these predicaments. This was not anything she planned. This was not her real feelings. But what ends up happening is she's in this room. They, of course, see the neighbor, and that becomes a sticky situation. Cecil has an opinion. Of course, Billy's like, fuck you, that kind of a thing, too.
Yeah.
But then worse than that, and I love how it started because I had to rewatch it because I already know the scene, of course, watch this episode so many times and the series so many times. But I was like, how did that happen? Like, how did it end up happening? And so she says, oh, Billy, like after they kind of like make their revelations in this hideous, room, she says, oh, Billy, I'm going to do something with you that I've never done before. I'm going to try to give a high five. And so needless to say that the high five turned into not looking like a high five in the context of somebody walking into the room. A photograph is taken and the oh so beautiful Sandra Bernhardt with the greatest scowl, which by the way, I will tell you, I think Sandra Bernhardt is gorgeous. That's just a separate side note. I just wanted to let you know. I think she is absolutely stunning. Anyways, her character gives this scowl, sexy as can be.
Oh, love it. Love it.
And she goes,
I'll make sure you never work again.
You'll never work in this town, which for Julie, and especially at this time, like nowadays people, I don't want to say for sure, but like there's a lot of people who are like, oh, I'll just do it on my own. Back even when the show was on the air, there wasn't as much. I mean, there was some, but there was still a level of you wanted to be in with show business, and that was Julie's main concern. And if you hear somebody who's got pull like that, what was it? You're basically one of my favorite female showrunners, but there's only this many of you. You're basically my top 6. This woman has so much power, and she's literally giving the scowl of death to Julie. Like, you'll never work in this town again. It had to hurt, because again, it's not a moment where Julie could be like, well, fine, if I don't work in show business, I'll just like, create it on my own or, invest in myself and launch it, on a paywall or something. That didn't really happen when this episode was out. So it really must have been a jab to her, Luckily,
it had to have been. I mean, it was, it was over before it started. And that's kind of what always happens to her. She gets in these crazy places but she's always kind of like, whatever, it is what it is. I want a day with just screens because I'm tired of actually having to interact face to face. I interact with too many people. Nothing bad happens when you're looking at a screen.
That was so funny to me because yes, the whole point was, we all need to unplug. And she's like, screw that. I like a computer screen. It doesn't argue back. Who I don't like is people. People is who I don't like, which honestly, she did prove a point. And now but
what's so funny though, is like her, the buried in the screen, you're oblivious to everything going around. That's kind of what the whole play is, right? So everything's crashing around you and you're so focused on your, what's in like the screen that you're not noticing the world around you. And I think that's the whole point of that.
I have my answer, but what do you think we're going to get to a point where people are going to be less interested in always being on the phone?
No.
You don't? Okay, I will say that my answer was not the same.
No, I don't. I think it's going to get worse before it gets better.
But you don't think after it gets worse, there will be a time where people will sort of be exhausted by not going to your favorite concert and receiving the information as much as you stop to arc it in a certain way? You don't think that will happen? Oh, so I'm feeling completely opposite of you on that.
No, I don't.
Wow.
I mean, well, because I see it in like my niece and younger kids, right? That's all they've grown up with. Like nobody's teaching them that there's life without a screen. There's life without the internet. There's like, they don't even know any better. So, I mean, like me now, I actually feel relief if I leave my phone in my room and just kind of like go, talk to my family or, go do something and not look at it or leave it in my purse and don't worry about it,
Yeah.
I like that. But, these younger generations of people, they don't know any different. God forbid they get lost without an internet signal. What are they going to do?
So your point is that even if it was in 20 years from now and we were much older, that we may get to a point where we're like not as intrigued by it, but you're saying because people like your niece have grown up in it, that they are not going to feel comfortable being without it, and they're not going to see a joy. They're going to feel a void, actually.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like how we feel when we have no power, right? When we have no light, no electricity,
right. When you hear grandma talk about, oh yeah, when we were kids, it was the radio. My grandma used to say this all the time. She was like, yeah, we were kids, and they were like, this, the radio. Yeah, they're gonna have this invention where you could see the people in the radio. That's how my grandma would describe it when TV was being sort of, like you were going from no TV to TV, and she would say, yeah, you're going to be able to see the people in the radio, is how she said it. So you're right. And to us, it's like, we absolutely need our TV. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's interesting. Any last thoughts on the episode? Enjoyable as always.
Always. I'm so excited to dig into season 2. I think we're just at the tip of it. So
my thoughts with season 2 is I feel like with season 1, it stuck very tightly to showbiz aspirations, but I feel like season 2 gives us a little bit more of like personal life, and then obviously we get to season 3 and Billy dates a little bit more and stuff like that. So I kind of like it. It reminds me of the show that we both loved, How to Make It in America, where the first season was so strict about like the making it part, but the season 2 had a little more like love and romance and lust and stuff like that. Yeah, which I like.
Yes, I'm ready to dig into all of that. So I'm excited for the rest of the season and doing more of this stuff. But overall, it's always entertaining, always fun. And, I love it.
All right. Well, you look wonderful as always. Thanks everyone. Thank you. It's been a hot one. And I'm trying not to be a bitter bitch. Look, I didn't complain once today. Not one time. I don't know what's happening to me. Oh my goodness. Okay. Have a good one. Thank you for watching Difficult Podcasters.
Yes.
Kellie and Ronnie, and this is brought to you by Viridian Row. So go to viridianrow.com to get some of their great stuff, because it's a cool website with tons of stuff. So whatever you're looking for, they probably have something good for you. I'll see you. I guess that's it.
Bye.